You have a memory right now that feels completely real, completely vivid, completely certain, and it never happened. Not approximately, not partially. It never happened at all. You might remember a conversation that went differently than you think. A childhood event that was actually told to you by someone else. A detail from a moment you were sure you witnessed, that research would show you constructed afterward. This is not a sign of a damaged memory or a confused mind. This is how all human memory works, all of it, all the time. And once you understand why, you will never think about your own past or anyone else's in quite the same way again. The scientist who changed everything we know about memory is Elizabeth Loftus, a cognitive psychologist at the University of California. Beginning in the 1970s, Loftus spent decades doing something that seemed almost absurd when she first proposed it, deliberately implanting false memories into research participants, and then watching those participants confidently describe events that had never occurred. Her work began with a simple question. If you show someone a film of a car accident and then ask them questions about what they saw, does the way you phrase the question change what they remember? The answer was yes, dramatically. And the implications of that answer reached far beyond the psychology laboratory, into courtrooms, police stations, therapy offices, and eventually into every conversation any of us has ever had about our own past. In Loftus's most famous early experiment, participants watched a film of a car accident. Afterwards, some were asked, how fast were the cars going when they hit each other? Others were asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? That single word change, hit versus smashed, produced dramatically different speed estimates. But more importantly, when asked a week later whether they had seen any broken glass in the film, there was no broken glass. The participants who had been asked about smashing were significantly more likely to say yes. The word smashed had not just changed their estimate, it had changed their memory. It had inserted a detail that was never there. This is called the misinformation effect, and it is one of the most replicated findings in cognitive psychology. The misinformation effect reveals something fundamental about how memory actually works, and it is almost the opposite of how most people think it works. Most people, when asked to describe their memory, use language that implies a recording. I remember it clearly. I can picture it exactly. It's stuck in my mind. But memory is not a recording. It is a reconstruction. Every time you recall a memory, you are not playing back a file. You are rebuilding it using fragments of what actually happened, filled in with what probably happened, shaped by what you have learned since, colored by your current emotional state, and influenced by everything you have been told about the event. The reconstruction feels like a playback. It is seamless, vivid, and confident, but it is a construction assembled fresh each time you remember and subtly changed in the process. The legal system was built, in significant part, on the assumption that eyewitness memory is reliable, that if someone saw something happen and describes it clearly and confidently, that testimony is meaningful evidence. The Innocence Project, a legal organization that uses DNA evidence to exonerate wrongly convicted people, has now cleared over 375 people in the United States who were convicted of serious crimes they did not commit. In more than 69% of those cases, the wrongful conviction was based primarily or significantly on eyewitness testimony. Not lying, not fabrication. Genuine, confident, sincere misremembering. People who were absolutely certain they had seen something and were absolutely wrong. Loftus has testified as an expert witness in hundreds of criminal trials, attempting to explain to juries what research has shown about the unreliability of eyewitness accounts. The legal system has been slow to incorporate this knowledge. Research has identified several conditions that make eyewitness memory especially unreliable. Stress and high emotion, counterintuitively, reduce memory accuracy even while increasing confidence. The brain under acute stress narrows attention dramatically, often encoding only the most salient detail of a scene while losing context. This is called weapon focus. In violent crimes involving a weapon, witnesses tend to have highly accurate memory of the weapon and poor memory of everything else, including the perpetrator's face. Cross-racial identification, identifying someone of a different racial background, is significantly less accurate than same-race identification. And perhaps most concerning of all, confidence is essentially unrelated to accuracy. A witness who says "I am absolutely certain" is not more likely to be correct than one who says "I think it was him." Certainty feels like accuracy. It is not. Quick recap before the most uncomfortable part. Memory is reconstructive. Every recall is a rebuild, not a playback. Post-event information changes the memory itself, not just the report of it. Eyewitness confidence is unrelated to eyewitness accuracy. And stress, emotion, and weapon focus all reduce accuracy while often increasing confidence. That is what we know. Now, here is the part that even memory researchers find disturbing. False memories are not just possible. They are easy to create, deliberately, in ordinary people, with no idea it is happening. In 1995, Loftus and her colleagues published a study called Lost in the Mall. They took adult participants and told them about 4 events from their childhood, 3 real events, confirmed by family members, and 1 fabricated event: being lost in a shopping mall as a young child, becoming frightened and crying, and being helped by an elderly woman before being reunited with the family. None of the participants had experienced this event. It never happened. After 2 interviews over several weeks, 25% of participants had developed a memory of being lost in the mall. Some described it briefly. Others provided elaborate, vivid, emotionally detailed accounts: the fear they felt, what the elderly woman looked like, what she said to them. They were not lying. They were not guessing. They had a memory. A false memory constructed from a suggestion that felt as real to them as any genuine recollection. Subsequent research has replicated and extended this finding in ways that become increasingly difficult to explain away. Participants have been given false memories of being attacked by a vicious animal, of nearly drowning, of witnessing a violent fight. In one study, participants were shown doctored photographs of themselves as children in a hot air balloon, an event that had never occurred. After repeated viewings and gentle encouragement to think about it, many developed detailed memories of the experience. In another series of studies, researchers implanted false memories of committing crimes, assault, theft, and found that under certain conditions, participants would describe these events with emotional detail and express remorse for things they had never done. The implication is not comfortable. Under the right conditions, almost anyone can be made to remember almost anything. So what does this mean for your own memories? Research suggests several things to hold carefully. First, the older a memory is, the more times it has been recalled and therefore reconstructed, and the more it may have drifted from what actually occurred. Childhood memories are particularly susceptible, not because children are more confused, but because those memories have been recalled, discussed, and reconstructed hundreds of times over decades. Second, emotionally significant memories, the ones you are most sure of, the ones that feel carved in stone, are not necessarily more accurate. They feel more accurate. The confidence is real. The accuracy is not guaranteed. Third, memories of traumatic events are particularly complex. They can be both altered by post-event information and sometimes suppressed or fragmented in ways that make reconstruction especially unreliable. This does not mean your memories are worthless. It means they are human. There are practical implications here that affect everyday life in ways most people do not consider. When you and another person remember the same conversation differently, and both of you are absolutely certain, one of you is not lying. You have both reconstructed the event through different filters of expectation, emotion, and subsequent experience. The argument about what was actually said may be genuinely irresolvable because neither of you has access to what was actually said. In therapeutic contexts, research consistently shows that attempts to recover or reconstruct specific memories of past events through techniques like hypnosis, guided imagery, or repeated questioning carry significant risk of generating confident false memories rather than recovering accurate ones. The memories that emerge feel real. They may not be. And once a false memory is formed, it becomes indistinguishable from a genuine one, not just to the person reporting it, but neurologically, in terms of how the brain processes and stores it. Here is what Loftus herself says about what her research means. She is not arguing that memory is useless. She is not arguing that people should distrust everything they remember. She is arguing for epistemic humility, a recognition that confidence in a memory is not the same as accuracy of a memory, and that treating our recollections as objective records rather than subjective reconstructions creates real harm in courtrooms, in relationships, in therapy, and in our own understanding of who we are and what has happened to us. The alternative is not doubt and paralysis. It is curiosity, a willingness to hold your own memories a little more loosely. To say, I remember it this way, and I know that means something, but I also know it might not mean everything I think it means. Your memory is not broken, it is human, and human memory was never designed to be a perfect record of the past. It was designed to help you navigate the present and anticipate the future, and for that purpose, a flexible, reconstructive system works better than a rigid archive. The cost is accuracy. The benefit is adaptability. Understanding that cost is what makes you wiser about your own mind. Is there a memory from your own life that you later discovered was different from what you thought, or that someone else remembered completely differently? Drop it in the comments. Next week we cover loss aversion, the discovery that losing $100 feels twice as painful as winning $100 feels good, and how that single asymmetry is quietly running your financial decisions, your relationships, and your risk tolerance right now. Subscribe so you do not miss it. See you in the next video.